Welcome to International PechaKucha Day. This is a coaches event for coaches, by coaches, and it's the first time we've done anything of this type. So I'm very thrilled to have you all here to join us today. And we've got the most epic lineup of 6 coaches for you. We've done a technical rehearsal, but just some housekeeping before we get started so you understand what the process is that each coach is going to take over the screen when it's time for their presentation. So while the presentations are only 20 slides and 20 seconds, there'll be probably 10 to 15 seconds as there's a turnover while the next coach sets up her screen and gets rolling with the presentation. Our presentations are all timed, which means that they're going, like there's no stopping. This is all live, it's happening in front of you. And it's the first time we've ever done this all together as a team. At the end of the presentations of all 6, we'll hang around for a few minutes if anyone has any questions, but otherwise you can join us over at Business School for Coaches, where we can jump on and answer any questions that you guys have if you want to have a little after party or connect with any of the coaches who have been giving presentations for today. So we are all on mute, which means that as more people arrive, they will be able to join in. But other than that, unless there are any questions, which you can ask in the chat box, which is down below, you can type those in here. I'll give a few, like 30 seconds for questions, but if we don't have any, then we're able to actually get started with the show. Okay, no questions, let's go. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen, getting my talk up. Picture the scene. You're sitting across from your business partner and one of your best friends. She was your teacher in university, your choreographer for a show, and she came to your wedding. She's your go-to for collaboration. You're eating lunch, discussing the new plan for the 3rd year of your kids' holiday academy, and smiling, she says, "I'm taking it. We don't have a contract. You'll go on to do a million other things. Just leave the scraps to me." Your heart drops like a lead balloon. Just like that, reality as you know it dissolves. Your partner, now your competition. Your friend, now a stranger. And you're left to wonder, is this really happening to me? This head-spinning moment was pivotal. Before that, I didn't think much about idea theft. I knew some people were secretive about their ideas in case others stole them, but I was always busy coming up with my own and inviting people to join me in co-creation. But let's backtrack. For 3 years, it was a beautiful synergy. She wanted small and I wanted big, so we decided to run Holiday Academy for kids together, and I opened a performing arts school for myself. The holiday workshops fed the school, and the school fed the holiday workshops. True to my nature, I kept expanding. The school had multiple extensions and each grew and flourished. And then I decided to sell. I sold 3 of my businesses in 1 month, including the school itself. During the big sale, I offered my then partner the chance to buy out our Holiday Academy or suggested we evolve it. Cut to, "I'm taking it. We don't have a contract. You'll go on to do a million other things. Just leave the scraps to me." So let's break it down. What do you do when your collaborator no longer wants to collaborate but doesn't want to buy you out either? What do you do when your idea is blatantly stolen? You can go into direct competition and both launch the same services. I said, "Are you planning to call yours your Holiday Academy and I'll call mine my Holiday Academy? Isn't that confusing? Bad for business? We could collaborate." She shrugged it off. "Do whatever you're going to do." We didn't have a contract, but it's still not ethical to steal. "Why not buy me out fairly?" I asked. She just bought another contract from me. "I don't have to." And the stage was set for battle. She was prepared to fight or run from me if I chased her. Her words, "You'll go on to do a million other things, just leave the scraps to me," still burn 11 years later. But I made a creative choice that day. I took the lead in my heart and the spinning in my head, and I transmuted golden opportunities. On my next business card, I called myself Alchemist, and I was. I believe that ideas are floating around freely available to catch like fireflies in a jar. Direct from creative source energy, we're merely channels for ideas, containers to transmute them. Ideas are the manifestation of our creativity. But here's the thing about ideas. They need people to birth them, to buy them. We conceive of an idea and then give birth to it through the action we take. Then ideas materialize as realities, and only then do they truly matter because they're able to affect people. Our ideas are the nucleus for communities to form around. They grow and flourish like a fire, inviting us to toast our marshmallows in celebration and conversation and connection. Everything we sell and buy was once an idea, the intangible made tangible. And once it's tangible, it can be stolen, but not if you give it away freely first. Now hear me out. It's not easy to give your idea baby away, but it offers space for opportunity. However an idea leaves us, it clears the space for a new dream invitation. Beyond your wildest dreams is a sentiment shared by many entrepreneurs. This means the moment an idea is within your comprehension, it's too small. You've chosen to work for yourself, and that means choosing the dreamscape of idea land, not the tried and tested, but new and novel with your own twist and turn on traditional. There is no playing it safe. You're in the business of dealing ideas, and this is how you protect yourself. You open the opportunities presented to you. Every experience is an invitation. Painful lead is for purposeful gold. You recognize your alchemical ability to turn your suffering into a service. You remember that you're a creator of new realities, not the victim of circumstance. It's all raw material ripe for transmutation. I could have wasted a lot of creative energy fighting, chasing, and suing my ex-partner. I would have stolen the most precious thing, my freedom. What you take can always be taken. When you give, it is given. This is the fundamental difference between a scarcity mindset and an abundant one. When you're a self-generating manifester, you get to bake the cake and share it, and bake another and another. You produce, make, create. Fear closes you off to source, and love opens you to it. Fear told me I'd lost my friend, my partner, my academy idea. Freedom told me, you're a self-generating manifester. Make more. There is so much more to come. Fear said, fight her, take back what was stolen. You're going to let her get away with this. Let her walk all over you. Freedom said, stand up and walk away. Let her take in fear, focus on freedom. You're always at creative choice. Stolen is no substitute for creative source. Stolen ideas are fear-based. They're shaky and small because something is just off. Shared ideas are love-based. They're built upon and expanded. These ideas spark brighter, bolder, more brilliant ideas, like from kids' holiday workshops to, say, an international business school for coaches. My ex-partner was right. I would go on to create a million more things. I've kept sharing ideas, and their fire has attracted attention all over the world. I believe creativity is the most powerful untapped resource we have, and I show people how to access theirs. That's it. Talk number one. And now I'm going to be handing it over to Darlynn.
Life coaching is based on the framework for coaching, which is basically the concept that our thoughts create our feelings. From our feelings come our actions, and our actions produce our results. We get our thoughts from the circumstances that surround us, from how we are thinking about what we are experiencing. In all relationships, one person's action becomes another person's circumstance. In parenting, it looks like this. Your child's misbehavior is your circumstance, triggering thoughts that trigger feelings, which trigger actions. Your actions become your child's circumstance, which creates their thoughts, action again becomes your circumstance, and the cycle continues. This is what it looks like in pictures. The kid yells at mom, mom feels angry and yells back. The kid feels sad and cries. Mom feels bad and ignores kid. The kid feels misunderstood and pouts. Mom feels annoyed and groans in frustration. The kid feels confused and overwhelmed and yells. Mom feels angry, yells back. This is what I call the parenting spiral. People often think that changing a circumstance is the way to make things better. Parents think the same thing. They think that changing their child's behavior is the answer to their problems. But kids' behavior is a circumstance, and circumstances are facts or situation over which we have little control. Most parenting programs focus on interrupting the parenting spiral at the point of the child's action. This is behavior modification. Sticker charts, bribes, threats, taking away privileges, and timeout are strategies commonly used to get kids to change their behavior. Sometimes they work in the short term, but they are rarely effective in creating long-term improvement. This is because strategies like those focus on changing circumstances instead of addressing the root causes of behavior, which are the child's thoughts and feelings. But how can you help your child change their thoughts and feelings? Learn to become curious. The most effective parenting strategy is curiosity. Curiosity is the cure for chaos. When parents become curious about what is driving their child's behavior, they view the behavior from a new perspective. They think of misbehavior as an opportunity to learn what their child is thinking or feeling. They see mistakes and problems that are created by their child's behavior as a chance to teach something new. To change the dynamic in your home, start with what you can control, yourself. It starts with your thinking. To figure out what you are thinking, ask yourself, what are my thoughts about this behavior? What do I make this behavior mean? The answers to these questions will begin to reveal your thoughts and bring greater awareness to your parenting. Here are the thoughts most parents have about their children's actions. My child doesn't respect me or love me. This better stop or my child will never learn. I can't handle this. My child should know better. I'm such a bad mom. My kid is trying to manipulate me with this behavior. These thoughts create feelings like sadness, fear, overwhelm, frustration, and self-doubt. When these feelings run free without examination, they become actions. So when parents feel angry, they yell. When the parents feel overwhelmed, they punish or shame. When they feel sad or have self-doubt, they rescue or emotionally disconnect. You can imagine the results. The parents' thoughts, feelings, and actions create a family where there is little peace, connection, harmony, learning, joy, or calm. Instead, there's a lot of anger, disappointment, and disconnection, and a home stuck in the same pattern, all while the children's behavior doesn't improve and the parent feels worse and worse. The shift from seeing behavior as an emergency or a problem that needs to stop to an opportunity for connection or teaching requires a massive shift in the parent's thoughts. This is where coaching comes in. An interruption to the parenting spiral begins with new thoughts. Real change happens when you learn to think new thoughts. Shifting to new thoughts can happen in a few ways. Ask yourself, what do I want to be feeling? What thought do I need to have in order to create that feeling? What do I want the results of this situation to be? What actions can I take to make that happen? What are the circumstances right now, and what are my thoughts about these circumstances? What are my long-term goals? How can I use this moment to move towards them? Here are some new thoughts to try on. I can handle any behavior my children have. I wonder what this behavior tells me about my child. My child is capable of learning this new skill or value. I am capable of teaching this new skill or value. This behavior is an opportunity to connect and teach. This behavior is a form of communication. These thoughts create new feelings like confidence, curiosity, hope, connection, joy, and calm. If you want to feel great about your kids, your parenting, your home life, and yourself, you have to intentionally choose thoughts to get you into that feeling state. When a parent is feeling positive, they can take action from a space of clarity and creativity. Since feelings drive actions, when you feel different about your kid's behavior, you act differently. You have a conversation instead of give a lecture. You speak kind words instead of yelling. Use restorative justice instead of punishment. Give limits instead of commands. Show compassion instead of judgment. Create connection instead of disconnection. I always begin my coaching program by having my clients create a parenting vision. I anchor parents in the big picture of what they want for their kids, the skills and values they want, and what they want their children and their relationship to be like when their kids are grown. Their parenting vision becomes their internal parenting compass, a way to reset the course when things get tricky. When misbehavior comes up, look at it through the lens of your parenting vision. Use the misbehavior as a clue to where a child is and where they still need to grow. Keeping the big picture perspective helps parents feel neutral about the circumstance, or better yet, feel positive about the circumstance and misbehavior because they see it as an opportunity. The framework for coaching is a valuable tool for parenting. It helps parents understand the reason they overreact to misbehavior and gives them the skills to coach themselves from a state of frustration, anger, overwhelm, or fear to a place of clarity and calm, confidence and compassion. From that mindset, true peace in a family is possible. Are you ready to create more peace in your home? That's what I do. I help parents feel less stressed about misbehavior so they become calm, confident, and compassionate. My name is Darlynn Childress, and you can find me on social media at The Parenting Path and at Darlynn Childress, or join my absolutely kick-ass Facebook group called Becoming Calm Mamas. Thanks for watching, and our next speaker is Juliann Smith.
I'm putting my video on while Juliann's just setting up. It's weird that we can't all clap and hear each other. So yes, put your comments in the chat box so we can hear. And I'm just going to check on Juliann to unmute her. Juliann's all good your side? You ready to go?
I'm just bringing up my presentation now.
Perfect.
Let's see. Let's see. All right, can you see it now? Can you hear me?
Yes, it's perfect. I'm just on mute.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. So my name's Juliann Gumulak Smith, and I'm a Martha Beck trained life coach. As I was going through a separation from my husband, I discovered there were a variety of things I could do to make this transition a little easier. And that is what I want to share with you today. The first is to cry. Sounds simple, but our society has told us to be brave. Don't show your emotions. I found such a relief from crying that it let me handle what was coming next. And the crying I mean is a full body, heart-wrenching primal cry. The second is to find a fall apart friend. As I was going through my separation, I really didn't want to talk to people. I recoiled into myself. There was one person I could let my guard down with. I call her my fall apart friend. Whatever I was feeling, she was present with me without judgment. I encourage everyone to find a fall apart friend. Anger. I had a great deal of anger. If you met me in person, I'm a very quiet, polite person. I had a hard time expressing my anger. I found that writing in a journal gave me an outlet for saying everything that I wanted to say. Journaling. In addition, once my anger was dialed back, I found that journaling was an excellent way to see what my mind was telling me, to see what type of limiting beliefs that I had to work on. Also, love your dog. During this time, I found cuddling with my dog incredibly therapeutic. I would sit on the couch with him and pet him. What it did for me was bring me to the present, and I wasn't caught up in the past or worrying about the future. Self-care. Since this is such an emotional experience, I needed to be attentive to my self-care. In my case, I needed a lot of rest. For you, it may be something different. Whatever it might be, listen to yourself and what you need. Also, do the things that make you feel like you. Being a stay-at-home mom for a number of years, I lost sight of what I enjoy to do. Through this separation, I set aside time to do more of the things that I like to do. It can be simple, like reading a book before bed or watching a TV show. In my case, I would walk in the woods, reconnect with nature, and let my mind wander. Why? During my separation, I was caught up in what I call the why loop. Why did this happen? Why didn't he love me anymore? I could go on and on. Then I heard from somewhere that figuring out why was trying to place blame. Once I realized that, I was able to move on. Untangling your life. In my case, being married for 20 years, my life was very entangled with my husband. It takes time to unwrap all the little connections. It's uncomfortable to experience the first holiday apart or having your children spend time with your spouse without you, but it just takes time. Remember who you are. As mentioned before, I was a stay-at-home mom for a number of years, and in a sense, I forgot who I was before my children came. That is why I refer to the Lion King. Simba's father tells him, remember who you are. I had forgotten the person I was before I was married. I found strength in remembering her. Fear. During my separation, I had a great deal of fear, mostly about making a mistake. I realized that it paralyzed me. Over time, I noticed that fear could be my friend and was on my journey to help me move things along. Doing something for the first time. Going through the separation, there was a number of things I needed to do for the first time. This made me feel incredibly upset and uncomfortable. Then I remembered, just because it's uncomfortable doesn't make it wrong, that as children, we are constantly trying new things, that it's simply learning a new skill that you need to practice. Resources. Someone once told me to use the resources around me. That thought really struck me. At the beginning of my separation, I felt like I was on my own island, that I had to do everything on my own. Now, when I get stuck, I look around, seek help, and I don't feel guilty about it. Stay calm and carry on. That was a plaque that was displayed in my daughter's classroom. When our nervous system gets activated, we, in a sense, lose our mind. We are not thinking like ourselves. Take the time to calm yourself down. When you are in a calm state, that is where your inner voice speaks to you to help you with your next step. As Martha Beck would say, become a watcher. With all the changes that was going on, I found that I had to give myself a different perspective of the situation, that this wasn't happening to me, but for me. I had to step back and observe it from a new angle. You cannot change what is coming at you. So I felt at the beginning of the separation that this was going to be the death of me. It felt like a tornado coming at me. Maya Angelou has a beautiful saying, I can be changed by what happens to me, but I refuse to be reduced by it. We cannot change the tornado that is coming for us, but we can change how we handle the cleanup. The universe wants to give you what you want. That is a powerful statement. We need to do the work to clear the way for our best life, that all of our experiences, even the difficult ones, are gifts to us, to be grateful for every experience. And don't skip to the ending. I'm sure like many people, I want to know how this will end, that I'm tempted to read the last page of my story, but then I realize my journey is written in between the pages, that my life lessons are laid out before me there, chapter by chapter. And take the first step. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, you don't have to see the entire staircase, but just take the first step. During these life transitions, our minds want to know what will happen, but be open to the world changing and rearranging for us that our minds could never have conceived of. Thank you so much for your time today. I wish everyone calm and clarity in whatever life transition you may be going through. I've left my contact information on this slide, and I can be found at returntothepath.com. And I also would like to thank Leigh Wallett for all the work she has done in hosting this event. And our next speaker is Leigh Wallett.
Great, thank you. I'm just going to bring up my slides. Sorry, just 1 minute. Okay.
I'm just going to play my face while we're waiting so you guys have something to look at.
Okay, great. I think I am almost ready.
Cool.
Share slides. Okay. Great. Why would Twitter block people for posting learn to code? It seems so harmless. But these were words being used as harassment towards journalists who'd recently lost their jobs. What they were really saying were, you are not relevant. And remember when blue-collar workers lost their jobs and the media told them to code? Learn to code has been the answer to the crazy fast change of the world. Want to keep up? Learn to code. It's dismissive of the pain, but it's also true. The demand for coders is seemingly unquenchable. Coding is the biggest growing role across industries. Traditional jobs are disappearing, from coal miners to journalists. Coding is the language of the modern world. And while that's true, it's also not that simple. This is why we need more than coders. We also need coaches. From financial services to telecoms and energy companies, they're all hiring, not just coders, but coaches, mostly under the name Agile Coach. I used to be one. I ran a team of global Agile coaches, from Angola to Azerbaijan, from Aberdeen, and across Asia Pacific. These coaches are helping teams to adapt to the pace of change, integrate new technologies, and navigate new power dynamics, where information flows freely. But there's a need beyond the corporate world. We all need coaches, and this is why. The information age is calling into question what it means to be human. With artificial intelligence, we have to ask, what is authentic intelligence? With robots replacing workers, so many are asking, who am I without my job? Something that's taken up the majority of our waking lives. A job can be difficult to separate from a self. Online work can make us location independent. So how does my national identity stack up? How do we choose the country we want to live in? Is it determined by our birth, our passport, or do we decide based on how we design our life, on climate and nature and access to good coffee and Wi-Fi? Coaching can help reframe our narrative. It can help with an identity transition as you work out what is true for you, what do you want, what do you love. Coaching helps you move to a space of imagination and creativity, where you create a vision of a world that you want, one which may not be what you were taught to want growing up. It probably isn't. We're in a time of abundance, of information and of opportunities. You can study through Stanford, connect with your niche community, and maybe have a side hustle as a hobby. But all of this access can lead to overwhelm. We can't do everything, and it's really hard to choose. So coaching can help with focus and with prioritization. It can help us with frameworks and tools to set goals and navigate an action plan to achieve them. This way, we can get the most out of the incredible opportunities that are available to us and achieve our wildest dreams. Then there is the support to look at our own internal coding. What code do you live by? What are your values? What do you value? How have you been programmed? As a coach, you can hold up the mirror to see what's been automated in somebody's life, and then you can help them question what they've taken as fixed. There are some great online tests to do to get some insight into your coding. If you haven't already, try out 16 personalities for your Myers-Briggs type, and it shows you how your personality is showing up in the world. Any free Enneagram test. Enneagram can help with your underlying belief system and messages that often guide our behavior, or a Barrett's Value Center test to learn about your values. Learning is a big part of coaching, helping to move from a fixed to a growth mindset, learning about yourself and gaining the meta skills of learning. Whether you do choose to learn to code, like I am, or whatever goals you set your sights on. One of the most common catchphrases of coaching is getting out of your comfort zone. But what zone do you go into? Your learning zone. The learning zone can be an uncomfortable space. It's where all of your demons can rear their heads and tell you your greatest fears. Who are you to want this? You're not good enough. You don't deserve this. Or fill in the blank for whatever message you received from the media, your school, your family, that plays on a loop in your head when you try and do things differently. Coaching provides the tools and techniques, plus the support and partnership, to turn down the volume on those messages. With practice, the learning zone becomes an easier space to navigate, until eventually you become like Neo in the Matrix, where you feel like you can download all the skills and information you need to achieve whatever reality you want. Another great tool is to start noticing what you notice. Notice your thoughts, feelings, reactions, and give them a name. Here you begin to learn about your own thoughts and about yourself. Coaching draws on neuroscience and mindfulness to help us step out of the automatic fear-based responses and feel empowered to make conscious choices. We've just entered a new decade. There is a prediction that in just 5 years, by 2025, AI will infiltrate every single industry and be part of our lives in the same way electricity did in a 10-year span in the 1880s. Things are only going to get faster. The singularity is predicted to happen by 2045. That's a mere 25 years away. This is where technology and humans come together in a way that is uncontrollable, irreversible, and has unforeseeable changes to human civilization. This is the stuff sci-fi novels haven't even been written about yet. So as humans, we have the opportunity to reweave the fabric of our society. Wars, poverty, climate change. There's a potential chance to do it all differently. What would you do differently? Coders are creating this future, and they're using their internal code as a guide for every decision they make. But what's the code for the coders? Who's asking them the big questions? We need guides, coaches, who can help us move through the discomfort, even the pain of change, make conscious choices about who we want to be, what we love, and what we want our lives to look like. People who can ask us, what do I want to achieve? Not only with my human potential, but with my increasing power to shape reality as I know it. The answer isn't learn to code, it's learn to learn. And this is what coaches can help us achieve. Thank you. So now I get to hand over to the next person. Let me just stop my share. And that is Tonya. So I'll go on mute.
And Tonya, I'll keep myself up while you're getting you ready? I'm off. Bye.
All right, oops. Sorry, I was afraid that I hadn't unmuted myself. Going back, sorry, share. Okay, I want to talk to you guys about negative self-talk, or how to tackle the biggest bully in almost all of our lives, and that tends to be that mean voice inside our head. And in this short presentation, I'm hoping I can give you a couple of quick tips on how to be more like that rainbow fish. Who am I and why am I talking to you about negative self-talk? Well, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm the author of the book, Stop Worrying About Your Anxious Child. I have a PhD in psychology, I'm a certified life coach, and my coaching focus is to help the parents of anxious kids. And if you notice, I said I help the parents, I don't help the kids, because my focus in what I do is to help parents be the change they wish to see in the world, like Gandhi would say, or be the change they wish to see in their children. And at the heart of being the change they wish to see is tackling what is a common thing for all of us, all the spiraling negative thoughts that we all tend to have in our heads at all times. Like I said, we tend to be the biggest bully in our own lives. But what you need to know about those negative thoughts, first and foremost, is that they are absolutely normal. We are biologically wired to keep ourselves alive. And one of the ways that we keep ourselves alive is by noticing and predicting the absolute worst possible scenarios so that we can avoid those. Not only is it normal, it's constant and pervasive. And because it's constant and pervasive and it tends to be pretty negative, we like to distract ourselves. We distract ourselves with television and with our ever-present cell phones. And the reason we go to those things is because they tend to be a lot nicer to us than these sorts of words that are inside our heads all of the time. But the thing to remember about all these sorts of words that are in our heads most of the time is just because we think them does not make them true. Sometimes we forget that not every thought that we have is actually a true thought. We also believe that we can predict the future. We think things like, I know it's going to turn out this way. I know this is going to go badly. I know. We also think that we know if we would have done something differently, this would have happened. Unless you have a really good crystal ball, typically you don't know those things. Another false belief we have about these negative thoughts is that they help us somehow, that we can bully ourselves into being smarter, faster, thinner, that if we're just hard enough on ourselves, that we will actually improve some way. But what is the truth about that is it's sort of like when a little baby is learning how to walk. If that baby falls down and we scream at the baby and tell them that it's a stupid baby and a bad baby, that is not going to make this baby learn how to walk. It's going to make the baby less likely to walk. It's not going to want to walk in the future. So the bully in your head, even if you think it's helping you, it really isn't. All the great spiritual thinkers over time have addressed this. Almost every religious doctrine has some version of the golden rule. Treat others as you wish to be treated yourself. But the converse of that golden rule is also true. We must treat ourselves as well as we would treat others. So how do we start to tackle that? Well, the first thing that we do is we remind ourselves that we have all these amazing organs that have a function. Our brain has a function, and all that function is to generate thoughts. Like our lungs breathe air and our stomachs digest food, our brain is just going to keep generating thoughts, whether those are true or not. And as our brain keeps generating thoughts, the first thing we should do is just to slow down. When we find ourselves overwhelmed with negative thinking, if we can slow down and take a pause and take a breath and notice what we are thinking and how it's making us feel without judgment, without trying to change anything, that's the first step. What doesn't work is telling ourselves to stop doing it. Telling yourself to stop thinking a negative thought is sort of like telling yourself not to think about the pink elephant. What we resist persists. So trying just to stop those thoughts won't work. However, what will work is to ask ourselves some questions. To ask ourselves when we have these negative thoughts. As I said, many of our thoughts from our thought generating machine in our head aren't true. So ask yourself, is this true? Can I absolutely know it's true? Could the opposite of this thought be true? And when we start to do those things, when we start to slow down, notice our thoughts, question our thoughts, accept that our thoughts are just a product of this thought-making machine in our head, will our lives suddenly change and we will suddenly have a castle in a cloud with a rainbow and be dressed in our princess dress? Unfortunately, the answer is no. But what will happen is those thoughts will start to loosen just a bit. And the more we practice these techniques of slowing down, the more we can loosen, especially the most pervasive negative thoughts. And as we loosen those negative thoughts, minute by minute, we'll start to have better minutes, which will lead to better hours, which will lead to better days. And when we start to really get good at this technique, those better days are going to add up, and we're going to find that we no longer believe every negative thought in our head. And we are much more attuned to how those negative thoughts impact us. And we are much better at challenging those negative thoughts and asking ourselves, are those really true? And suddenly, changing our thoughts can actually change the whole world. There's probably lots of important people who have said that, but I say it too. And I would love to connect with you at guidanceforthefuture.com. And you can also find me on Facebook at facebook.com/guidancefuture. And I am very thrilled to introduce you to Veronica Thai, who is our next speaker.
This is our last speaker, so it's going to be Veronica, and then we'll stay on for a few more minutes. Veronica, as soon as you're ready, I'll go away.
I am ready. Thank you. Well, give me a second here. I think I got it. There we go. As I sat at the table, there was an undercurrent of desperation running through me. I was 23 and unemployed for the second time in the very short 2 years of my professional life. I recently left a job after I almost had a nervous breakdown because I ordered the wrong headpiece. There's got to be something more important for me to stress about than this, I thought. There must be something more. These days, I get to call myself a Wayfinder life coach, fellow Wayfinder life coach, yoga instructor, and podcast host, among many other things. I've been on this entrepreneurial journey full time for about 3 years now, and it's been a thrilling ride. Where the lizard brain has taken me and the emotional roller coaster has been very real. I even got to a point where shortly after I left my corporate job, I would have moments where I thought I'd throw up because I realized the leap that I'd taken, scare-sighted, as some of us would call, and be able to relate to. In the end, I'm actually so grateful for it all, even these crazy lizard thoughts, because it's part of this journey. And you know what? When I remember to step back and soak in the view, I'm deeply grateful and in awe of where life has taken me. I get to teach yoga and wear yoga pants every day. I have heart-to-heart conversations with strangers, and they don't think I'm weird. In fact, they pay me to do that. My 23-year-old self couldn't have dreamed up something better. And as Martha Beck sometimes says, how the hell did I get here? That's what I want to share with you. How the hell did I get here? In a good way, and the big life-changing lesson that I learned from it. So let's go back to 2012. Okay, where I was sitting at the table, desperate, unemployed, but to be clear, it wasn't my unemployment that was causing anxiety. In fact, I'd been accepted into an intensive career kickstart program for women where they help you find a job. There was a career coach, and she helped us figure out transferable skills, how to perform well in interviews, all that stuff. It had all the stops, but there was something. The desperation would grow louder every time I actually tried to apply the knowledge. And all I really knew back then was that my energy would deplete, like as if the life was literally getting sucked out of me, especially when I thought about working for companies like Mineral Corp, LTD, or Oil Resources or whatever. There just had to be something more. This couldn't be all that life had to offer. I felt so stuck. And the thing is, you know what? If you just rewind 3 years before this moment of stuckness, it was a different story. I was a makeup artist, and I loved collaborating with fellow photographers and models to do photo shoots. Makeup artistry was a place where I felt the energy of life coming through me every time I picked up a brush. I know that to some people, it's just makeup. But to me, I don't know. It felt rhythmic. I was in flow and completely in my element. I was so confident. I was so full of ideas. That's what I wanted in my career. But I told myself that I was being delinquent and I needed to adult better. That's why I left makeup artistry in the first place, to find a real job, right? Honestly, this particular story is just one of many where I felt stuck and confused. And as time would reveal, there would be many more moments like this in life. I was stuffing myself into boxes because I thought they were the only option. But I wasn't meant for a box, as I would later on find out. This is one of my work of arts, by the way. Okay, looking back, I feel lucky that I felt this tension because that's what kept me searching. My time in the Career Kickstart program didn't grant me the answers to life or anything like that, but it did plant a very important seed in my mind. A single comment from a fellow student shifted everything in me. Maybe you just need some soul searching, she said. And there it was. A part of me awakened and I was like, yes. My heart stuck to those words like a magnet. The soul searching came slowly and surely over the next few years and beyond. I didn't know about life coaches back then. Otherwise, I would have hired one. Instead, I continued my journey. I went on to find a corporate job and tried my best to do what a respectable and responsible adult would do. Or so I thought. I learned so much. I met so many people. And also, I hated my job. Then it happened. The tension built up enough and I had to search harder. That is when I decided to take my yoga teacher training. And then it snowballed pretty quickly. I started a podcast. I took the leap and quit my job. 7 months later, I found myself to be a pretty confused entrepreneur. So I signed up for the business program, and the opportunity to become a Desire Map facilitator was presented to me. And not even a year after that, I enrolled in life coach training. At first, I felt like nothing was happening. And then life changed at supernova speed once I had even a little bit of direction. And now that I'm here, a little wiser than the desperate and anxious 23-year-old, I see that it all turned out okay. And that's one of the huge life-changing lessons that I've learned along the way. Your life is an unfolding, one reveal at a time. And you know what? It's going to be okay. I don't regret any of the speed bumps that I encountered along the way, but I do regret that I suffered so much, or I chose to suffer so much. When we're in the thick of things and we really want things to work out, we grasp for certainty and it's easy to get a bit desperate and derailed. So it's important to remember, it's an unfolding. It doesn't have to happen all at once. And if we trust it, it'll take us places that we didn't even imagine. You know, we do such important work as life coaches. I shared my short story with you because I know that I'm not the only person who's ever felt stuck and confused like that. I remember how much angst I felt, like nothing was going to be okay, and how painful that was. And if a little bit of insight from a fellow student brought me such relief, I wonder what would have happened if I had a coach by my side to guide me in my soul searching, to validate the joy that I had as a makeup artist, and to help me find direction. Luckily, I had teachers in the form of books and podcasts to help me along the way. And I am so grateful that they didn't let their own uncertainty get in their way, because I really needed them. And you know what? I wonder what the world would look like if we, life coaches, each trust in our own unfolding and shined our brightest together with our coaching superpowers. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. We did it. Okay, amazing. So that is an official wrap. Thank you for all the speakers who presented and created such gorgeous presentations for us, for the guests who came to watch and listen. This has been such a fun experience and so lovely just to have a creative challenge for us coaches to get together and share some of the things that we love and that we know. And if any of the coaches or the guests want to chat a little bit further, I'm going to be taking this conversation over to Business School for Coaches. It's our private group. I'll jump on live and I can share my screen with you there, and then we can chat a little bit about your experience. So thank you so much, and I'll see you over on Facebook in about 20 seconds. Oh, yes, I'll share a link. And you guys can unmute yourself if you want.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. It was so fun.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Darlynn.
thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Talk to you guys later.
Yeah, it was great.
Here is the link.
Great. See you over there. I'll hop over now. Bye.
Great, guys. See you later.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.